Welcome to Hodge, Podge, Australia. Today we're making a chocolate cherry cheesecake cake, and that will make sense in a minute. The ingredients you need for this are 2 sponge cakes that have been leveled off. You need some thickened cream, some cocoa, cut cherries, some dark chocolate, some caster sugar, and some cream cheese. Don't worry, all the ingredients are listed in the description box below. You will also need a springform pan that has been well lined. You can see I've even bent it over and just cut a couple of slits so that it meets all the way down and there is no chance of anything sticking to this pan. Let's get started first by making our cheesecake. So the first thing you're going to want to do is to whip your cream. So just add your thickened cream into a whipping bowl and give that a really good whip. You want to make sure it's nice and thick whipped cream. So we use thickened cream here in Australia. It's what you would use as heavy cream over in the States and other parts of the world. Then get your cocoa powder and add some hot water. Give that a stir together. Just add 1 tablespoon to start with and give it a stir. It's going to get very paste-like. Then add in a little bit more hot water until you get almost like a melted chocolate consistency on your cocoa. Then melt your other dark chocolate and add it to your whipped cream when it has cooled. Make sure it's cooled, otherwise you're going to melt your thickened cream. So give that dark chocolate time to cool. Add in the dark chocolate to your cream and your cocoa mixture now that it is nice and runny. Then you're going to put that back onto the mixer, or get your hand mixer back out and give that a good whisk together so that it's all good and combined. Next, grab another mixing bowl and add in your softened cream cheese and your caster sugar. Then put that on the mixer, or clean your hand beater and give that another whisk together until that is lovely and combined. Combined seems to be my word du jour today, does it not? But pop that onto your mixer and give it a good whisk. That is the consistency that you're looking for of your cream cheese and your caster sugar. Next, it's time to get your arms working. So pour in your chocolate mixture, your chocolate cream mixture, into your cream cheese and sugar mixture, and then give it a really good stir by hand. You want to make sure that is good and combined. So make sure that you're continually stirring it from the bottom of the bowl so that you're making sure you're getting all of it. Then add in your chopped cherries that you have definitely taken the seeds out of. Give that another big stir to combine. After that, it is time to assemble our cheesecake cake. So get your lined springform pan, pick which one of the sponge cakes you would like to have on the bottom. I do this by looking at the underneath of my cakes and choosing the flattest one to be the top of my cake. So using the other cake, I'm going to put it in my springform pan. Then I am going to pour my cheesecake cherry mixture onto the top of that. Get it nice and smooth on the top. You don't need to worry too much about it because you're going to grab your other sponge cake, turn it upside down so that the bottom is on the top, because then you get a lovely flat surface. Give it a little bit of a squeeze down, that's going to make it nice and flat, and put it in the fridge. Now that it is nice and set after 2 to 3 hours, I can take my springform pan off and that baking paper just peels right away from that cheesecake. It's so easy to take that off. It can be a little bit frustrating putting that baking paper in the first place and getting it to stay in place, but it is worth it when you are taking it off. So make sure you go to that effort. Then you'll notice that with our cheesecake sandwich now, it kind of looks like there are a little bit of areas where it's seeped out the side. You don't need to worry about that at all because it's cheesecake, it's easy to cut. So grab yourself a butter knife and just trim off the excess around the outside of the cake. You're just looking for a nice smooth edge around that side of the cake because we are going to just be drizzling ganache all down the side. So this is what you're looking for. It's lovely and even. All the sides, there's nothing protruding out. A nice batch of ganache and leave that over to cool. You can put your cheesecake back in the fridge while that cools. You don't want to have it too hot, but you don't want it room temperature because then it's going to get too thick. So just keep an eye on that ganache, and if you're looking for a recipe for ganache, make sure you click the link that's popped up there on our screen. It'll show you how to make some lovely dark chocolate ganache. Pop your cheesecake cake onto a baking tray or a cooling rack on top of a baking tray because we're going to drizzle this ganache all the way down the sides, and this is the easiest way. This way you're not going to get big clumps of it on a plate underneath you that you're going to have to clean off. It's just going to drizzle all the way down and through that cooling rack onto the baking tray underneath, which makes for a really easy cleanup. You can see there that all I'm doing is pouring the ganache onto the top of the cake and letting it drizzle down the sides and using a knife to smooth it over the edges. Now because the cheesecake cake has been in the fridge, it is going to set that chocolate ganache rather quickly, so you do need to work quickly so that you get a nice smooth edging on your chocolate ganache, but just do it in stages. You can see I haven't poured all of the ganache over in one hit. I've done a little bit. I'm going to smooth that out. Then I'll pour some more ganache on top of that and do the next section around the side of the cake. Happy with your ganache covering, it's time to transfer it onto a cake board. So add a little bit of your ganache into the center of your cake board so that it's going to stick down. Then you can just use a couple of egg lifters or one egg lifter. It's just easier, or you can use an offset spatula. I like egg lifters, they work for me. Slide that between your cake and the cooling rack and transfer it just nice and quickly onto your cake board. So just pull that egg lifter out and just let it drop. That's the easiest way. You're not going to end up with any smushes into your cake if you just drop it onto the cake. Don't worry, it's all right. Next, it's time to decorate. So de-stalk some cherries. You can leave these ones whole, but make sure you tell people that there's still pits in them. Dip it into the chocolate ganache, which will focus in a minute. You'll see it. Just put a little bit of chocolate ganache onto the side of your cherry so that it sticks to your cake, and then you're going to place it down on the bottom, resting on the cake board and sticking to your cake. I will turn that around in a second and you'll see what I'm talking about. But we're just doing a border of cherries around the bottom of the cake, which really ties it in. Plus, people love cherries, so they can also sit there and pick the cherries off and just eat them. Top of the cake, it really is your choice how you want to decorate it. You could cover the entire top with cherries as well if you'd like, but if you want something a little bit more minimal, grab one of your cherries, cut it in half, deep hit it, and a little bit of a warning, this part gets messy. When you're deep hitting cherries, you're going to end up with cherry juice all over your fingers, but try to keep it away from your clothes. Just a little handy tip, but there you can see I've cut it in half, I've taken the seed out, and I'm just placing them face to face in the middle of the cake. You could leave it at that. That actually looks really lovely, but I'm going to go a little bit further and I am going to de-seed and halve some more cherries, and I'm just going to go around the outside as a border. What I am doing, however, is I'm putting a little bit of ganache on each of those halves so that they stick to the top of the cake. Otherwise, they're just going to slide right off. With that cherry juice, they're not going to stick on their own. So do make sure you use a little bit of ganache on each half of your cherry to stick it down onto the cake. And that is how you make a chocolate cherry cheesecake cake covered with dark chocolate ganache and covered in cherries. That is quite a mouthful and quite a dessert for New Year's when everybody's starting their resolutions. I know I did today, so I'm just going to look at this and think, oh, isn't that nice? No eating it for me. But thank you so much for watching another Hodgepodge Australia video. I do hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure you check out our other videos, hit subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you again real soon.